Warning. This video and all other videos on this channel are for entertainment purposes only. The content of this video and all other videos on this channel are the opinions of the creator only and do not constitute legal, trading, investment, or financial advice of any kind. Investing carries a high level of risk and the majority of retail clients lose money. Do not invest any capital unless you understand the risks and you are prepared to lose it all.
Alright, hello and welcome to Camel Finance. I'm your boy Camel, and I'm going to first of all talk about some kind of memes and some ugliness in the space. Then we're going to talk about a little bit of liquidity positive stuff for the space. There's some good news, some bad news, some very, very bullish charts. And then as always, we'll do a little bit of TA and see if I can find any tradable setups at the end. Following Trump's meme coin and all of this of late, I thought it would be interesting to ask you guys, if I created a meme coin and held 80% of the supply and openly told you my plan was to rug it, would you still buy it? And almost 40% of you said you would. That really shows there's something going on here that I just don't understand and I'm not going to be able to understand. I also thought, let's rephrase the question. I said, what if I created a camel meme coin, held 80% of the supply, and said, I promised I'll let you guys rug me. I promise you I won't sell any of the 80%. Would you trust me? And would you buy it? 30% of you said you trusted me and would buy it, right? 10% of you said you didn't trust me, but you'd buy it anyway. 30% said you trust me, but you wouldn't buy it. I'd say, okay, good. And some of you said don't trust, wouldn't buy. That was about a third of you. Absolutely understandable. For the record here, because I know there's a lot of people speculating and asking for this, I don't really think there's anything for me to gain by offering some kind of meme coin. So I thought this would make for interesting conversation with CPM. I think we're going to do a Whiskey Wednesday tomorrow night. But I want to make it clear that I have no real intention of launching a meme coin. For me, there's no real upside and there's a bunch of downside, right? I don't want to harm my followers. I don't want to acquire any negative karma. And the only thing for me to gain is money, which I don't really need. So sorry to disappoint the 40% of you that can't wait to buy camel coin, okay? But I don't think it's coming. And whilst we're on this meme coin theme, just for one more slide, I saw a lot of misinformation out there. A lot of people have been saying that Trump's World Liberty Financial have bought 47 million in Bitcoin. But I thought it was important to point out it's wrapped Bitcoin on ETH's chain, okay? So not quite the same thing. And of course, speaking of Trump, we saw the inauguration yesterday. Chair Gensler has officially resigned and they've lined up a new replacement, okay? So we've got a new chair of the SEC. Is this good, bad? I don't know. I have no idea. I don't trust any of these guys, to be completely honest, but one day at a time, we'll figure it all out. Despite that fancy speech that Trump gave at the Bitcoin conference, promising to do a whole heap of Bitcoin positive things day one, surprise, surprise, no mention of a strategic Bitcoin reserve, and it was not listed as an immediate priority in documents sent to the lawmakers. So if you're interested and want to read it, you can pause your screen and read this here. I'm not going to go through it. Something that's a little bit concerning to me, and I think should be to everyone here, is according to Polymarket, we are currently pricing in almost 70% probability we will see a national Bitcoin reserve in 2025. Now, I know a lot of people like to parrot this idea that nothing is priced in, right? This isn't priced in, that's not priced in, blah, blah, blah. But I do not fall into this camp of people. I believe markets are essentially omnipotent. I believe that everything is priced in 100% of the time. And thus, from my perspective at least, and you don't have to agree with me by any means, I'm not trying to sell you anything here. I'm just simply saying it's my opinion. Everything is priced in all of the time because somebody always knows something. And the thing that's a little bit concerning to me is with a 70% chance almost of seeing a Bitcoin reserve, if we don't get one this year, then that is quite a significant repricing that is going to need to occur to the downside. Long-time viewers of the channel know exactly what I'm getting at here because I've been making the same case over and over and over again. So that's the ugly part of today's presentation out of the way. Now let's talk a little bit more about the positive stuff. First of all, I'm seeing a whole heap of talk about the debt ceiling crisis. This is not the first time I've covered the debt ceiling, okay? Since having the channel, we've already hit it a couple of times. And I say the same thing every time we're approaching it or about to hit it. Okay, the ceiling is an imaginary ceiling. It's a line in the sand that we're supposedly not allowed to cross and everything blows up if we do. But all that happens is debt makes its way up here. And then they say, no, let's lift the ceiling again. And the whole pony show and rodeo goes round once more. So I thought the most efficient way to address this is to play you a 1-minute clip of Lynn Alden talking about what this actually means. Short term, it's liquidity positive. And slightly longer term, it can be a bit liquidity negative. Shout out Kimazabi here because he actually was the one that sent me this clip. So I'll play this clip now.
One of the near-term implications, and it's somewhat counterintuitive, is that when debt ceilings are reached, for the months that follow, it tends to be pretty good for liquidity in the system. And that's because as they kind of reach their debt ceiling, they can't issue more debt. And so one of the actions that the Treasury can do is they can start with spending their existing cash balance that they have with the Fed. And that's generally about $800 billion in the current time period. And so basically that's spending money into the economy that they're not extracting from the economy. It goes back into the bank system, goes back into bank reserves and, throughout that financial system. And so you can have a multi-month period where if the debt ceiling is strangling net new issuance, it's good for liquidity until they get that solved, and then when they want to go refill that cash balance, that's when you get the negative liquidity effects.
So there you have it. Okay, I don't think we need to say anything more apart from short-term liquidity should be coming to the markets. Happy days. Supports the bullish bias that we have on this channel. Now, speaking of bullish bias, Rumble has just started officially buying Bitcoin for its balance sheet. So we got more positive news flowing into the space. And the picture, as far as I can tell, continues to get better here. Seems like 1, 2, 3, 4 working on that fifth wave. If we can get somewhere up into this upper channel, somewhere between 150 to 180k seems about right. I don't think anyone will be too disappointed with that. A slightly different way to arrive at a similar conclusion is we've got a bull flag here, and if we do the measured move of the pole and extrapolate it out, it gives us about 158k. Again, happy days, right? If we can get somewhere up there, I don't think I will be too disappointed with that. And something I just cannot get away from is the fact that we may well continue to stay on pace with the 2017 fractal. Nobody was this bullish. Nobody. This seems completely clown world to talk about. This seems absolutely ludicrous to suggest that we might have something like this staring us in the face. But as ever with trading, if it isn't broke, don't try to fix it. Until such time as we deviate away from this, then we are still tracing it. And if we're still tracing it, then we can still continue to cautiously aim for much, much, much higher numbers. By the way, this is $1 million Bitcoin up here. By no means is this a call or a prediction. But if something like this is going to unfold, then you best believe I'm going to do my absolute best to stay on it until we get to the top. And James here showing a very nice perspective. The froth at the moment is minimal compared to previous all-time highs. You can see that by the Bitcoin futures perpetual funding rate. Look how extended and blown out this is, all as we approach the top of the prior cycle. And even on the secondary top, which did show major divergence with a lower high here whilst price made higher highs, at the hard right edge, we are nowhere close to these kind of elevated levels, okay? Take a look at this. Nowhere close at all. Telling me at least to keep an open mind about much higher prices in the not too distant future. And Camel, what about altcoins? What about altcoins? Well, take a look at this, okay? Because people keep saying, people like Ash and me need to stop being so negative on altcoins. But at the moment, there's nothing but downward movement in the Bitcoin pairs. You need to pick very, very wisely here. And so this is total 2 divided by Bitcoin. Take a look at this, okay? Major underperformance. To say that Bitcoin isn't the winner of this cycle is totally false. And something I've been very, very consistent about this entire cycle, and finally seems to be having more merit now than ever before, is that this is going to continue. These alts are not going to turn. They're not going to bottom. They are not going to do what you think they're going to do. Okay, just entertain this as an idea. Imagine we are in phase 7 right now. Okay, that's this bit of the hyperwave targeting phase 1. No one, and I do mean nobody, believes this is possible. I know because this entire cycle I've been saying the same thing over and over again, and people continue to tell me that there's always somebody like me. There's always somebody that says this stuff. But when we go down here, granted this is a monthly chart and you're supposed to do hyperwaves on the weekly, there's definitely 1 here, okay, 2 here, 3 to here, and then 4 here. This is a hyperwave. And it did do this, 5, it did do 6, and now it appears to be in 7. So it can break out at any time. Of course, it can invalidate this setup at any time. But so far, it says to me that it may well just be heading all the way back down to phase 1. And if so, then this whole idea of no broad-based alt season continues to be happening right in front of our very eyes. Ash is completely right here. You have to pick very, very wisely. And the funny thing about this is almost an oxymoron, because wisely actually means full left curve. It means bidding Hawk Tour, Trump, and all of these other weird and wonderful meme coins that openly have nothing apart from a joke backing them. So pick wisely, or pick as stupidly as you possibly can, okay? Throw away all IQ. Probably hit your head against a wall hundreds of times until you're dizzy and lightheaded, and then make your decision. That seems to be what constitutes wise this cycle. I know whenever I say this stuff, people are like, oh, get off your high horse. It's not about that. It's not about that. It's just I'm objectively searching for the truth. And if the truth turns out to be that I'm flat wrong about this and this is what comes next, then of course I will come here and hold my hands up and own my mistake. Anyway, the last thing I wanted to point out, okay, because nobody cares about this for some reason, and this is the thing I'm most excited about for the next 5 to 10 years. Slowly but surely, Bitcoin continues to climb in terms of its value priced in gold. And so I thought we'd check in on Old Faithful here, okay? You can see just under 40 ounces of gold at the moment. I've long been expecting and hoping for something like this. And I really do believe if we can get up here, I think one of the best trades I can personally think of would be to exit some Bitcoin into some gold. We would see a reversion back to the mean, which of course means gold massively outperforms Bitcoin during that bear market. It only makes sense, okay, because gold is not going to draw down 80% in a bear market like Bitcoin probably will. And of course, that is money outside the system that carries no counterparty risk. The best thing about this trade, the thing that I'm so excited about, is nobody cares about it. Nobody cares about it. Nobody is interested at all. It reminds me very, very much of how little people cared about Bitcoin back here when I first got into it. Nobody wanted to have a conversation with me about how Bitcoin was quietly improving, how the chart was quietly bottoming, and how it was setting up to have huge, enormous outperformance over the coming decade. Nobody wanted to talk to me about it back here. And that's exactly how I feel about this now. There's a handful of members that are as excited about this as I am, but the majority of people keep telling me this is a boomer rock and that Bitcoin's going to demonetize gold and that the central banks are going to throw all of their gold in the sea. And I am here once more to make the case that that is absolutely bogus. One last thing I want to point out, because I haven't done this in a while, but I believe if this comes to fruition, then the question is, well, okay, now I bought all this gold, what do I do with it? And once again, I am here to suggest to you that something like this is in the making. I really believe that something like this and some later in the decade is on the table for gold. I really do believe we're going to be up in the 5-figure per ounce of gold type of neighborhood. And thus, I really do believe that that Bitcoin exited into gold and held for the rest of the decade would be one way to secure your financial freedom permanently. I really think if you can lock down a couple of kilos of gold and hold it until the end of this decade or early next decade, I think it's going to be pretty hard for you to end up poor. I really, really do. I think all you have to do is secure a couple of kilos, sit back, and let the currency be debased against it. And I really, really think you're going to struggle not to be financially stable and secure later in your life. So anyway, I know people don't care. I know people don't want to hear it. But as ever, I'm going to keep doing me. In the much more short term, all we need is a daily cycle low pullback. And then it's time to get to full exposure in the members section. We are currently exposed to the move by some miners and, did I say buyer then? Via some miners and spot silver. Happy days. The Dixie, is this thing going to start to force a daily cycle low? It looks like it's coming. It looks like it's coming somewhere in here. So we'll see. We'll see if we can get that. Yields continuing to come off a little bit. So that's nice, but no true breakdown yet. We'll have to keep an eye. Some kind of counter trend bounce first, and then a breakdown makes a lot of sense to me. Bitcoin, I can see that it's pretty funny. If you zoom out, in fact, let's clean this chart up. Right, I got a blank chart now. I'm going to put it online so that we get rid of all the wicks. Now, when you zoom out, this is pretty orderly, okay? Consolidation, push, another consolidation. I don't see anything to be stressed about here. But I can see that as the moment we go into candles, and I can see by my comments, there's definitely new people coming into the space. These little wicks, like this, okay, and like this, have got people saying things like, it's over, it's dumping. I mean, again, if you go on the line chart, these aren't even visible, right? Because it's just wicks. This is actually very orderly, a nice little consolidation, okay? And if it can break out, happy days. But let me tell you right now, if you're newer to the space, if those kind of wicks are causing you to have emotional reactions, to panic sell or to panic buy, if you're seeing these kind of wicks, okay, and you feel compelled to go and write in people's comment section or on Twitter or whatever that it's over, it's done, it's topped, it's never coming back, whatever, then I really think you need to reconsider whether this space is for you. And the reason I say that, okay, is not to be condescending. Not at all. Okay, the reason I say this is because we are now approaching the part of the cycle potentially where volatility gets the most extreme. This is pretty orderly all through here. Okay, it gets a bit more extreme and a bit wider. And now we're getting into that stage where we should start to see very, very large and nasty swings. If we take a look at this, okay, this is potentially a run to 200k and a 50 or 60% correction. Then potentially a run to 400k and another 30 or 40% correction. Now, to date, we haven't seen a 50% correction this bull run. We haven't seen one in years. We haven't even seen a 40% correction this entire bull cycle. The most we've seen, top to bottom, was about 33%. Okay, and all of the prior corrections were between 20 and 22, 25%. If you go back to this bull run back here, okay, we threw 30, 40, 50% corrections for sport back here. Okay, so again, when I'm saying to you, if you're getting stressed out and you want to call tops and want to say it's over, want to say, oh, you're wrong, it's crashing, okay, when all there is a wick, which when we go on the line chart, again, isn't even visible, then when I say this space might not be for you, I really do mean it. You are not going to survive, you're not going to make money if these wicks are going to be jarring to you. Because again, these are massive, massive corrections along the way, even though they might not look like it when we're zoomed all the way out. You know, that's a 40% correction right there. We haven't seen one before this entire cycle. Now, that right there is another 40% correction. What about this? Okay, another 30% correction. And you might sit there and say to yourself now, well, I'm just going to hodl, I'll never sell, okay? But saying it and doing it are two completely different things. You know, if we really are looking at something like this, okay, and here we are right about now, then this next pump could easily take us to about 250k. And then we would slam all the way back down to 150. We would shave about $100,000 off of the price of Bitcoin in as little as 1 month, okay? So if you're calling tops on every little wick that occurs in the meantime, how on earth are you going to sit through 100k knocked off the value if something like this is to unfold? And then from here to here, this doesn't seem like much, but it's another 150% move, which adds 225k to the price of Bitcoin, only for, guess what? 150 odd K to be taken off of the price per Bitcoin in just 3 weeks. So the reality is, okay, if something like this is coming, it could absolutely change your life, but only if you're capable of weathering the volatility. So please do keep that in mind. Certainly worth considering. Other than that, in the members section, we will keep adding to the crypto-related equities to build our exposure. We'll keep hunting for more ways to exploit this Bitcoin move as and when it gives us high probability setups. And for the stock market, we'll see if we can confirm some breakouts or whether we have to keep this yellow squiggle on the table for now. VIX slowly but surely making its way down towards target. So happy days, right? Long and strong continue to push. Always open to everything. Always unbiased, unemotional, and ready to capture whatever the market will give us. I'm your boy Camel. I hope you're doing well. Until next time, take care. Cheers. Bye.
Camel Finance, he's the man to see. Rocking the markets with his contrarian spree. Trades like a pro, no fear, no shame. Sticking to his guns in his money game. He's a badass, oh yes indeed. Camel Finance got the markets key. Taking us normies on